Okay, so now I'm just going to take a couple minutes and run you through how I like to put together my settings for our campaigns in Google AdWords. So to find your settings, go to the Campaign Management tab, scroll down to the Campaign Summary, and click on Edit Settings. Now the very first setting that you'll see is the name. I always put a C behind my ads that will appear on the content network rather than on the search network. We have our official start date and end date. The end dates come in very handy if you are trying to promote a class, for example, and the class is going to end on, let's say, March 30th, for example. You can go ahead and set those ads to run up until a few days before that class. Next, we have our budget options. This is really up to you, and I find that the best advice to give somebody who's starting out is to start small, but make sure that you're willing to spend at least a few dollars a day on your budget. Another thing is I would never really pay attention to the recommended budget that Google gives you. It's my experience. I found that you can spend a lot of money on AdWords, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll make a lot of money on AdWords. So over time, as you split test your ads and you find some ad groups are outperforming other ad groups, you'll start to notice a real improvement in your conversions. Remember, it's not how much you spend on AdWords, it's how much money you're able to make on the back end that really counts. So for now, let's not even look at the recommended budget. We also have the delivery method. Now, standard means it will deliver your ads throughout the day, or you can also have an accelerated, where basically it's like throwing a hand grenade out there and your ads are all over the place all at the same time. Personally, I like to run standard, at least initially, because people will be interested in your product at different times of the day, but you're not really sure when that is. I'll give you an example. If you have an entertainment product, you may not have as many people signing up for your products or purchasing your products during the daytime because they might be looking at your site while they're at work. They don't feel comfortable, buying a product. You're probably going to do a lot better, let's say, in the evening between 7 and 10 p.m. So these are things that you won't really know at first, which is why I tend to go with standard. You can use Google Analytics to track your conversion rates over time. So you can see through each hour of the day where you're making your most sales. And of course, then you can adjust your ads accordingly. Here we have our bidding strategy. Right now it's set up as cost per click. There's another bidding strategy that I prefer to use after we've done a bit of testing on our a bit of testing on our campaigns. And that one is called the Conversion Optimizer. It's a relatively new tool. This is where you can tell Google you don't want to spend more than a certain amount of money per acquisition. It's based on maximum CPA, which stands for cost per acquisition. So for example, if you're selling a product and you know that each time somebody signs up each time somebody buys your product, it's worth $20 to you, then you can set your max CPA for $19.99, or $19.99, just to ensure that you'd make money. Furthermore, you see we have where you can show your ads. Now, seeing that this is for the content network, I like to take off Google and search. So we'll just keep it on the content network. Initially, I do like to keep it on the entire network rather than just on placements. That's more of an advanced strategy that we could get into a little bit later. This way, you get to go out and you let Google place ads on a wide variety of websites, and through careful tracking and using Google Analytics, you can determine which websites are producing customers and which ones are just taking money from you. And you can go ahead and remove your ads from those websites in the future. The device platform. I like to keep the desktop and laptop computers checked, but I don't like the iPhones and mobile devices. This is a personal preference of mine because I don't feel that most people are in a buying state of mind when they're clicking on their iPhones. I've never known somebody that I've talked to sitting there clicking on an iPhone and saying, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And they're saying, "Oh, I'm buying, a stereo." It doesn't happen. So I just tend to stick with the desktop and laptops. I'm old school. Maybe I'll be proven wrong in the future, but that's the way I do things. Here we have ad scheduling. This is what I touched upon a little bit earlier. You can specify certain times. So let's say that we wanted to run our ads between 7 and 10 p.m. Pacific time only, then we could do that. Ad serving. Now this is the most important button, and it's actually the main reason I'm doing this video is to illustrate the importance of changing this. Google will automatically set it to optimize. What you want to do is go ahead and change it to rotate. Now, it may seem like a good idea. It says here, hey, we show the better performing ads more often. Well, the problem with this is, though, is that Google is basing what they call better performing ads as an ad that has a higher click-through rate, not a higher conversion rate. And remember, a click-through rate is the number of clicks that you accrue per 100 visitors, or per 100 impressions, excuse me. So if there's more clicks, that means that you spend more money and Google makes more money. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're selling more products. This is why I prefer to go on rotate. I want to show all my ads evenly, and rather than base my decisions on cost per click, like Google does, I want to base my key metric would be based upon the conversion rates, because I'm interested in sales. How many sales are these ads bringing me? After all, you can have an ad that could draw a lot of people and have a very high click-through rate. You could have like a Girls Gone Wild video ad or something that would just catch people's eyes and they would click on it. But when they arrive at your website and they realize that you're selling stereo equipment, suddenly they're not that interested anymore and they're not going to buy. So you've wasted money. And Google, in its sense, will actually propagate this. So it's something to be avoided. We have the target audience, pretty self-explanatory. We also have locations. Now this is an interesting approach. A lot of times I will like to start with the United States and then eventually edit my way out into the other main English-speaking countries out there, mainly Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Ireland. And but if you're in a hyper-competitive market, it can actually help you to not start in the US. Start somewhere else, say Australia or Canada. It's a smaller market. There tends to be less competition, and it gives you a chance to kind of get your feet wet, particularly when you're in a competitive market. So it really depends on your strategy. For this case, I'll keep it on the United States, but it is something to keep in mind. So that's pretty much the settings, and that's the way I've set it up. If you're interested in learning more, you can always check it out, the other videos that we have on our website, which is www.streamlife.com. That's stream-life.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll move on to our next video tutorial.